Have all these three powerful ladies in our studio today, and we are going to look at creating balance so that you can fulfill your potential. And I look at a woman or a lady with so many hats on her head. She has to do so many things. How do we go about bringing about the balance to this Christian woman? And really, one would look at Proverbs 31 and look at the standard. It's like it's set so too high. Mm-hmm. And then how do we make it practical to our day and age women? So maybe someone can help us just to even explain what is balance, if we may say. Yeah.
You know, if it's okay, I want to start. And just because you mentioned Proverbs 31, you know, I think it's kind of funny. When you go through and you read through Proverbs 31, it's like this lady does so much stuff. She's like Wonder Woman, okay? She can do everything. Yeah. And you're like, wait a minute, this is a lot of stuff. But I want you to understand that that Proverbs 31 woman is actually doing everything throughout her life.
Yes.
It's step by step, you see? And you don't develop to be a Proverbs 31 woman overnight. Right. It's a process. Yes. And we have to allow ourselves to be in that process. And I think that's what's really important on the Proverbs 31, to bring balance to Proverbs 31. Because I think every time I go to a ladies' meeting, there's a lot of teaching on Proverbs 31. Yes. And I think it can be overwhelming. And I have some women who say, oh, you should read one of those, one chapter every day, because it's 31 days usually, okay? So sometimes you have to read 2 or 3. But anyway, most of the time it's just 1 a day, right? But, and it really is a good thing to attain to. But at the same time, don't put so much pressure on yourself, because this lady, it's a process. Allow the process to happen.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah.
I would also say, for me, I had to learn over time that the Proverb 31 woman, she, out of necessity, we fail forward to success, right? I'm sure there's many times she failed on her way to becoming the Proverb 31 woman. It's a great goal to have balance, but it's sometimes, I was sharing this to you the other day, Brigitte. Wait a minute, I just called you her name. I just shared it, but I like the word harmony better.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that there's balance, like the balance to how we eat and exercise, and balance to what we do so that we take everything in moderation. The Bible talks about that in different places. But just for me personally, when I think of the word balance, I think of like this balancing act, and I tend to feel stressed just because I have to somehow be balanced. Instead, I've learned that harmony works really well. It's kind of like music, you know, and you have all the different instruments that come together, and sometimes you have a solo of drums or whatever, and then you have, you know, the wind instruments that take over, and that's kind of like our families. Yeah. You know, there's times that we just kind of have to see what works for us, and that's the thing. The Proverb 31 woman, it says that she gets up early and she plans for her day. Well, to me, I don't think she's looking at equal parts. It weighs the scale balance as much as how does this all fit together in harmony for each person that I am governing over and responsible for, and also what is healthy for me personally. How do I do that? And in the beginning of her day, she plans that out. We were talking the other day about how success does not just happen. It is planned, and harmony, and what will even feel more balanced, I think comes in to play because we plan it. We have to plan it.
We have to plan it. Wow. Yeah. Because that was the next question I was going to ask. How does one achieve it? Because as much as Sister Sandy has brought that balance on that Proverbs 31, they still, whereby she's talking about this lady, she's doing this for the rest of her life. She's working on these different aspects in her life. But I'm looking at a lady who will say, listen here, I'm finding myself, I have 3-4 small children, I have a job, I have a husband, I have a ministry in church. How do I go about to bring the harmony, if I may borrow your word? How do I go about bringing that harmony? How do I bring that balance in the church, in everywhere, so that I'm successful? Because the truth of the matter, we don't know how long we are here. But what we want to do the best with whatever is at hand at a given time. So, yeah.
Well,
See,
I would say it definitely has to do with being able to say no.
Okay.
At times, know what to say yes to. And for me personally, I have all of this going, okay?
Absolutely.
I had children,
Uh-huh.
I have my own business. I'm a swimming instructor, some of you don't even know that. I run a business and I'm gonna work really hard 4 days a week, but even in that, I've managed to make sure that my hours are gonna be okay for my family. So you have to put priorities. And I think priorities is what makes a balance.
Absolutely.
So when you start realizing, okay, if things start getting out of kilter, then you start having to adjust things. Like she was saying, harmony. Okay, it's true. You need to see if it's not working, you need to figure out how to fix it. My husband, I mean, we work together, and it's nice that I have a husband to work with. So that in itself plays a difference. If you don't have a husband to work with, you need to find someone who can help you and work with you.
Okay.
So you're not carrying a load all by yourself. Seriously, there has got to be somebody obviously watching your children. So if you can work together with that person, and then everything has to kind of glide together. Like I find times to do my studying out of my own personal relationship with Jesus Christ. So when I'm doing my own personal study, you'll find that most everything I share comes from what I'm taking in.
Okay.
I really believe that I'm feeding myself, and out of what I'm feeding on, I can feed others. If I'm trying to do outside of that, it doesn't work.
It's true.
I mean, I stress. Then it's like, you know. But I really want to be relevant for what's going on now, and because I need it. And when I can share what's in me, then it's easy. It comes out easily. So then it's not a stress to be, you know, part of a ministry or doing anything. And also, you know, I think, I don't remember who it was talking about throwing pieces of paper in a parking lot and seeing who's going to pick up things. Steve. You know, the thing is that it should be that way with all of us at church. You know, all of you in the congregation. Everyone should be helping out on picking things up. So as we go along the way, we're all doing it together. You know? And so as I'm going along the way, I'm helping with the church. I may not even be one of the people who are supposed to be responsible for cleaning up. But guess what? Because I'm there, I don't care if I'm a guest speaker, if I'm just in a church, if there's something to be done, let's all pitch in. Because right now we just moved this heavy table over here, okay? First of all, this other lady and I, we moved this table, this big heavy table, okay? And it was just the two of us. But then the second time we moved it forwards, okay? And all of us helped. It wasn't so heavy the first time. It was much lighter. But seriously, if we all move together and we help each other, it makes everything so much easier. But seriously, it's all about balancing stuff, as in, like, as we go along. I didn't ask any of them to help, they just helped. And so I find that ministry is not, maybe I have to prepare a lesson or things like that. I need to make time to do something like that. But that's not a problem, because I'll make time for that. We just have to slot that time out, just as you would slot it in for your kids. Now, once again, I have a calendar that I'm sure you guys, I know she does, but you put out your calendar and you make your plans, and I know things are going to happen in between. But prioritize what's going on in your family's life. I always put the things down for my kids, and I put a big old star beside it. And I even beforehand said, you know, if there's something really special coming up, I'll put even a bigger note on the front, I need to do this. But, you know, I call it my brain. My calendar was my brain, and it helped me organize my life. And so I would put first, obviously my date night was usually on Fridays, and we actually only went out once a month. And, you know, if we could afford twice a month, you know, to do that, we would. But we always made sure we had a priority at least once a month to be able to go out. And we had time for each other during the week, okay? Don't get me wrong. But we had a special time to just the two of us to be able to go out at least once a month. And so that date was circled and that was done. But then, so we're talking priorities here. Then with my family, I would make sure that everything was on there, that the kids would bring their schedules home. You guys, I was juggling 4 kids, okay? So that means they were, and her too. And so juggling all these things around, I would make sure that the activities for the kids would not overwhelm me. If it was too much, I tried to make sure that all their activities were in one area.
Okay.
I worked for the YMCA, and I would make sure all of their sport activities were around that, you know, that one place. It was so much easier. And I mean, you know, once again, it's about just doing a calendar, making sure that you have things written down. But like I said, I called it my brain. I said, where's my brain? I need to know what I'm doing and where I'm at. Otherwise, things would fall through the cracks, and that was disappointing. I hated missing anything the kids were doing at school. If somebody was doing a special thing, you know, a field trip or whatever, and I missed it, that would just break my heart.
Yeah.
Or they had a special program at school and I missed it. There was that was horrible because you can't make those things up. So if you write things down and you have that in front of you daily, then I think that's really going to help a lot with the stress. And I mean, I already knew when I had to work. I also put those things in. I put down, my husband and I, we have a planning time as well. Did you do this? We have a planning time where you sit down and say, okay, this is when we're doing our family vacations. We usually at the beginning of the year, we'd have a time where we just sit down and write down, this is when we're having a vacation, this is when, family vacation, maybe even our own little place that we're going, you know? But we had it all planned out.
Everything planned out.
Yeah. So calendars, you guys, calendars are the best.
I think rules are also important. I don't know, I don't have a family, but I was working with children for 25 years and I had 25 children in one room with another lady. So we need our structure too.
Yeah,
So
structure's good, yeah.
Structures are really good. And I think how you talked before, there is a thing, many hand, it's a fast end. And that's what is working, what I have seen. But I think often we are thinking when we do it on the right way, and it took too much time to explain it to the other one, so I will do it by my own. I was a long time like this. But when we train our family, when we train the children or the people around us, but I live with other people together in one household, so everybody have to know what is his thing to do. So, and the other thing is, I'm a diver, and sometimes when you get stressed on the water, the first thing what you learned is stop, breathe, and then come down. You come down when you're breathing, and then your brain starts thinking. But otherwise, you die down there.
Oh my.
So stop, come down, breathe, and then your brain switch off.
That's
like
good.
This.
That's good. Oh, I've heard of those people who count to 10. It's like, you know, if you're getting stressed, take a second, count to 10, you know, just take yourself, calm yourself down so you can get your head together, and then, then you can think. That's good, I like that.
Yeah.
What was the original question?
I think the main question here was to see how one can achieve the balance.
I've heard multiple things. I heard you earlier say prioritizing. That is absolutely key, because honestly you can get a lot done and at the end of the day still not feel productive. And the reason why is because it didn't line up with your real top priorities, and then at the end of all of that you stop and go, oh, but I still need to get that done. That's important, oh my gosh, and then you feel stressed. So knowing your priorities, she said delegating, you know, being able to say no is one way of stopping something, but also delegating those things I think is really important. You know, it takes a village to raise the children, and I have a daughter who's a single mom, and it's very important that she knows she's not alone and that she can ask for help. But how do I help her with that? I just tell her, hey, what do you need help on? Sometimes I gotta pull it out of her. So it's good to have friends or family around to support you, but if you don't have someone asking you, you have not because you ask not. Sometimes
Yeah.
you have to ask. And so definitely prioritizing. I know that we talked about the Proverb 31 woman waking up early and planning her day. I do it a little on opposite. I actually like to close down my day,
Okay.
pre-planning the next day,
Okay.
because otherwise you can lose a lot up front of your day unless you get up super, super early, because you're really not sure where to go, and it's very easy to get pulled into your day
Yeah.
instead of you having a plan at the beginning of the day. And so when you know your priorities, for me it's God first, family second, career third. Well, how do I do that every single day?
Yes.
And so having a plan, having it written out, the plan is something that's looked at, Sunday through Saturday, but then it works its way into your calendar those are your regular routine things that are really kind of almost non-negotiable. They're your skeleton that holds everything else together. They're the framework to this house you're building, right, to your future. And so those are the things that are like breathing and become very much a really good habit to you.
Okay.
And then the additional things line up with the priorities of your household. So once you have God, family, career in your personal life, now you're looking at for your household, what does my husband's need? So for my family, we have 4 children too, and I actually remember being in the nursery at Church Sandy when our newest one was a newborn, and then I had a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old at the time. Wow. And I remember she had the same, and so we bonded day 1 over 4 children in households, okay? And I remember her saying to me when we were talking as mothers and going, kind of stuff. Are you sleeping well now?
Yes.
Kind of stuff. And, but I remember her saying it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And I remember her saying it's okay to say no. And I remember us talking even then about priorities. This is really before I mastered it. Now that I have business and all the different components of the Proverb 31 woman, I just like at night to really make sure that the next day I have thought those things through, that everything for all the family dynamics is in place. But we sit down on Sundays when the kids were littler, and we would sit down and we would actually look at everything in the backpacks that came from school, that has the school calendars, and everything in the family calendar, and everything in the school calendar, and everything required from church, and all the different things, and we really mapped those things out. And I would tell the kids, listen, God first, family second. I'm putting y'all second, but you have to give me the information. You have to communicate what it is that's coming up. Because if you throw it at me last second, and it didn't have time to make it on the calendar, we are not all going to go into a whirlwind and stress over this. We won't do it, and it only took one time where something got missed because they didn't communicate, and they learned we communicate on our Sunday family and come together part.
Good.
So don't let the kids rule every part of your being at the last minute if you happen to have multiple children. It's impossible to do that. You'll lose yourself. And no matter how hard you try, you'll always feel like you tried so hard, but yet it wasn't appreciated. It wasn't valued. You're being undervalued because you're stressing so much, and people don't see how much effort goes into that. But you get to control that by simply you doing the breathing first, putting the oxygen on your own face first, then talking, having your part in balance, then your spouse, then your family, even when it comes to your schedule. Giving them opportunity to tell you everything that's important to them, that makes it on there, and everything does have a place. And once that's been factored in, then all the little things that come up, it's easier to kind of go, I don't see where that's going to fit, do you? What on here do we want to take off to make that come on? Oh, Mommy, I don't want to take anything off. Okay, well then we have to choose. You're even teaching them priorities at that point in time. It goes on, and priorities is really what it comes down to. What is the most important thing, that's going to make the most impact for your family, for your overall health, relationally as well as spiritually? What is the most important thing?
Wow.
That's key.
I think that's a mouthful, ladies, and it's so powerful. Thank you so much. I'm hoping, ladies, you are being helped out there. And I'm looking also at all these things that we are sharing, the priorities and everything that we're talking about. I'm looking at a woman who's saying, you know what, I understand all these things needs to be done. I understand that we need to have the timetable and whatnot, the plan. but what's the best way in terms of what technique can I use in terms of managing the time? Do I need to allocate the time equally throughout whatever I have for the day? What's the best way that we can do
I've got to say something. When you say equally, I immediately think balance.
Okay, yes,
You
goes
know,
back to balance.
God doesn't expect, it's not 10 equal slots to everything in life. It's kind of like Sandy said the other day that, I think something about loving your kids equally. Did you say something about loving kids equally, or am I imagining that?
No, I did say something about it. We were talking in a conversation and I said, you know, every time I had a child, my first child, I loved him so much, and then I had my second one, and I was like, how can I love my second one as much as I love my first one? You know, I was scared to have my second baby, because I was afraid I wasn't going to love her as much as I loved him.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I
oh
had the
shoot.
exact same thing, by the way. When you were talking about that, I was shocked because we never talked about that.
Yeah.
And that's when God taught me multiplication.
Yeah.
Because we love so much for one, and then when we have a second one, He multiplies that love and gives us the
Right.
extra portion we need for things.
Right.
Time, I think, is so much of the same way. We have to know those priorities, but then practical application. Do you have a thought on it? Practical application is what she's saying.
Yeah,
As a person who's saying.
I have a little something for
Okay.
practical application. I would say, you know, when it comes to everything, like she said, kind of has to come into harmony. And I would say, I think it just has to do with being able to, how can I say this? With the priorities and all that kind of stuff, we can kind of slot it pretty easily that way. I think you already know what your day is going to entail, so it's being flexible. You know, if
Harmony.
you're rigid,
Harmony.
it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt you more than help you.
Okay.
So I think if you start making everything a law, you're gonna be in trouble. And so I kind of have a tendency to say, even with ministry, everything has to run the same direction as you are.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do something that's not in your repertoire that you're supposed to be doing, like, you know, with your family or whatever, it's gonna put like a spoke in the wheel. It's not gonna be good. You're gonna have a stick in there and you're gonna fall, okay? But, you know, I don't know, what I'm trying to hear you say is that, you know, we've got a lot of things going, but once again, it's just, prioritizing. And when you're in the moment, be there. You know, my kids, just for instance, with my 4 kids, how things worked. I had 4 kids to get out the door in the morning for school. My husband was going to work. I had to go to work. So how did that work? How did I put that into practice practically?
The night before.
Okay, the night before.
Lay it
Exactly.
out.
We got into a habit of always having routine. I think routines are super, super important in a family. We had a routine for going to bed. We had a routine for morning. We had a routine for when they came home from school. So those routines were things that made the structure of our home.
Yeah.
It was the columns that were set up. Okay, it was the
It helps the
structure.
children. Yeah.
Exactly.
They
It
do
helps
feel
the
safe.
children. They
Safe,
feel
it
safe. They
feels-
know exactly what's going to happen, and it helps you, allows you to put the things in that you need to with your kids. So. In the morning, let's start in the morning, okay? Actually, start the night before. No, I don't know. It's like the egg before the chicken, right? The chicken or the egg first. We were having a conversation on that too one day. But let's just say, let's start with the morning, okay? In the morning, my kids get up and they would have breakfast. And I had usually the night before set everything out, but they would have breakfast. They would get their backpacks and everything, make sure everything was together. But usually, it's quite honestly, I gotta start the night before. Because really, everything started the night before.
Yeah.
I never waited till morning for everything to be
You're
ready.
stressed.
Yeah.
You're
It
stressed,
would be
yeah.
stress. So the night before, I made sure my kids chose their clothing they were wearing the next day, or I chose them, okay? And if there was a choice, I usually say to my kids, look, tomorrow it's gonna be cold. You have this, you can wear this, or you can wear this. And they got older, they can choose their own, okay? But as little kids, I didn't say, just go put on whatever you got in your closet, okay?
They'll come out looking,
No.
they'll come out looking really unique.
Crazy. And listen, you guys, people who do that, it's not fair to your kids.
Yeah.
Because your kid's coming out looking crazy, all right?
Then you get
It's
to,
not
you need to
okay.
criticize them, you get to stress them out.
Yeah, well, on top of it, I mean,
When you are the one who actually failed to do your part.
Yes,
well, you know what, we need
honestly.
to teach our children.
Yeah.
And we teach them stripes and polka dots don't go together, okay? We wear a solid with the stripes or with the we have one pattern, one solid, okay? Okay, so just in case you don't know, okay? Just, you know. So anyway, okay, I would teach my child how to do it, okay? So I made sure that the clothes were ready. Shoes, socks, I promise you everything, underwear, okay? Because I can't find any underwear. Or your son will wear the same underwear for an entire week. Or socks. Come on, right? They don't change their socks and underwear, they forget. And you're like, no, you will make sure you have clean underwear every day and socks, okay? And so I set everything was set out, okay? Before they went to bed, they also had their backpack and their homework in their backpack. I am not bringing your homework to school.
Yeah, that's
I
another
did
thing I
not.
didn't do. One time, I did it one time.
I said, no,
We had a
I'm not gonna see that.
conversation and we didn't do it again.
I said, no, I'm not
They
bringing your
learned,
stuff to
yeah.
school. You put it in your backpack. When you finish doing your homework, put it in your backpack. It's done, it's finished.
It raises them up to be
Lunches.
more responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
become more responsible.
The last thing
absolutely.
that's gonna go in their lunch, inside their bag is their lunch, okay, because it's made in the
Yeah,
morning.
coming out of the
But everything else can go in ahead of time. So we had everything ready. So in the morning, all they had to do is get up, have breakfast, get themselves dressed, brush their teeth, put their lunch in their bag, which I had already fixed, you know, I'm in there in the morning fixing it, put it in the bag, and they're ready to go out the door. Stress gone.
Yeah.
Okay, planning is ahead of time. It's all about having little routines, okay?
It is.
When they came home,
Systems.
immediately they came home, no TV. We do homework first. Homework was first, then they could go play. They could, you know, and even TV was not an option at times. It depended on what was going on, seriously,
Yeah.
around the home or
That should
whatever.
be a treat.
But it was, yeah, it really was. And I said, look, you got all those toys in your room, you've got toys to play with, go play. Or go play outside. See that tree out there, go climb it, you know?
Yeah.
Go outside. But once again, it was a routine. We had dinner at a certain time and we had dinner together.
Yeah.
It was our one
Let's get
meal,
back
we
to that.
always
Let's
had
get back
that
to that,
together,
seriously.
routine.
Yeah.
Routine
so
was
important.
really important in that. And it brought peace. Okay, now our nightly thing when we go to bed, when the kids, it's time for them to go to bed, we'd send the kids upstairs. We'd say, okay, go get your pajamas on, go brush your teeth, go to the bathroom, and get on my bed. And if they did it before I got up, they always tried to beat me there, and I made sure they did their teeth good. Say, open your mouth, let me see. Little ones, I always brush their teeth for them, okay? So I'm up there and I'm watching things going on, okay? But we get on the bed, and what we would do every night, and we really, you gotta put this routine in them. Like I said, you're bringing things in and you're developing as you go along.
Yeah.
With my kids, we would sit on the bed and we would do a story time, okay? And for some reason, I love this. Our bed was the place to bring things to talk.
Okay.
My kids love to talk on my bed.
Okay.
So if they were going to confront my husband and I with anything that was going on in their life or questions or concerns, it was always on our bed for some reason. So I love that. I was like,
A safe
it felt a
place to
safe
come.
place because that's our place where we were kind of like a big old nest, right? So we would have story time, and I always read to my kids. I read to them every night. I put a love for reading in them.
That's
Wow.
I
so
picked up some of my
important.
favorite books from when I was a child,
Okay.
and I would bring them, and my little ones, get this, I had the two older ones, and then I had the two younger ones, and I would read the little ones a book, okay? and then a very short little story. And then when they were little, I would go ahead and have them go to bed, but pretty soon I started noticing they didn't want to go, they wanted to hear. And I said, if you will sit quietly and not interrupt me, you may stay, but don't interrupt, listen. And at the end, if you have questions, you can talk to me then. But you must be very quiet. And they did it.
Wow.
Structure is so key. You had 25 children that you had in your classroom. And I know from my exposure of my 4 children in school, and one of them being a special needs autistic child, even more so for him than my others, it was absolutely required to have systems, even a visual calendar for him, because he needed to see what was coming next. And if you didn't, or you changed it out, it created a lot of stress and anxiety, and then he would have some acting outs that would happen. So bringing that into the home, you know, but some of the best teachers, they taught me that. I've watched what they did with these kiddos. So talk a little bit about that from a kid's perspective, how important structure is.
So much time to talk about this, or on with the...
Yeah, just
I just thought
in
you
a
had a
minute,
tip,
in
yeah.
a minute, just...
Yeah, and just a
Just
tip,
yes,
just
and
something
you-
that help with structure outlining for those that might have, they feel like their home is chaotic.
I was talking to the parents when I felt this, but
Yeah.
the structures comes through the parents, not with the children. But that is the safety for our children when they know what to do, how Sandy was sharing with us. When they know they have to do this and this and this and this, that's the only way how it works in the nursery with so many children. They know, okay, when they are coming, they put off the shoes, they have the shoes for the kindergarten, for inside.
Yeah.
And then at 9 we have our little break and we have our time to sing and we
So there's
have
a
our
routine.
we have our routine too.
Yeah.
And that helps, so they know exactly. Before we had lunch, we had a circle and we were singing together and we were sharing something together. Then we went and washed our hands and then we go to the table and later on we brush our teeth and go
All this
for
routine.
We have the routine
Yeah,
too.
that's so key.
Yeah.
Do you know,
Routine is key.
let me
Sounds very
let me
great.
just finish with that I had a tickle in my throat, sorry guys.
Sorry.
But at the very end of after we do our story time, this is the teaching time that came in that was so valuable, is we would have prayer time before they go to bed. And you see, when we prayed the word. We'd say, Lord God, we thank you for this day. And they would say it after us.
Okay.
We thank you for that our bodies are strong and healthy. That by Jesus' stripes our bodies were healed.
Amen.
And we would go through different things. We would pray over them. We'd say, God, thank you that you give your beloved a sweet and a peaceful sleep. We say we will have good dreams and bad dreams must go in Jesus' name. And they'd go, go in Jesus' name. And it was so cute. But we did this, I mean, for most of their life.
Wow.
Yeah. So they heard it over and over.
Yeah, they learned.
And that's the thing, they'll go and practice even after they leave the home,
Yeah.
which is interesting. So yeah, thank you so much, ladies.